Good evening. My name is Cherokee Rebello. I want to thank you all again for coming again to listen to my speech, How to Register to Vote. The purpose of this speech today is to help people find the resources to register and kind of know the process of voting. Everything that we hear is it's your duty, it's your right, it's your privilege, it's your job as a citizen. These are all things we hear from already registered voters in America. But are they giving us the resources in the way of registering how to vote? Voting is a big part of what makes us a citizen, but how do we actually do it? Today, first, I will discuss informed choices on who you are voting for. Next, I want to explain the voter requirements and the eligibility to vote. Last, I want to discuss exactly what happens on voting day. When deciding who to vote for, there are many things you need to consider. It's important to decide what strengths you're looking for in a candidate and what things in an area of growth that you really don't want to see they're lacking. You want to research their positions on issues and current events, topics happening around you that are affecting you, things that you want to see change in. You want to have a candidate that's willing to make change for those issues and those topics. Another thing to consider is a candidate's leadership skills and what their ethics are. You want to know what their belief system is, what they were based off of, what they're growing on, things that they believe in their past, how they were raised. Those are going to influence their decisions, and that's essentially going to be what you're voting for. You also want to watch debates. This is a good way to learn about how your candidate acts within other people in a public setting, with people they don't know. It's a good way to learn about what kind of topics the topics they are passionate about. Knowing who you want to vote for is half the battle, I promise. The other half is what is being required to vote, because that's what a lot of people don't know. When it comes to being eligible voting in the registration process, this is where most people end up giving up. They know who they want to vote for, but then they don't want to go through the process of registering and all that fancy stuff. Actually, fun fact, every state requires you to register to vote. Like, you have to pre-register except for North Dakota. To be eligible in the U.S., you have to be a U.S. citizen, and each state has specific eligibility. You can register with any state using USA.gov. According to the site, the voter guide, most states just need a photo ID to vote. You want to take all your knowledge that you've already gained and take all of your IDs and stuff to the actual voting day. You can vote in person at the polling place or polling station. Something you could do also vote is by mail. This is for people who aren't living in the States right now but are still a U.S. citizen. Usually this is our military personnel, people who are overseas, or just temporarily away from their home. Some states actually offer early voting, which is what a lot of people take part in, so they don't have to deal with the big crowds. If you already know who you want to vote for and you've already been pre-registered and you're not a first-year voter, you can go ahead and take part in the early voting. Polling locations are assigned by your address. Your name will only be at your assigned locations roster, so make sure you know where your polling station and your polling place is at so you don't get confused. When you take these steps, it's pretty easy to follow once someone explains it. It's easy for someone to tell you, but once exactly they explain it and they put it down into words, or they actually take you along and do this with you, it makes it a lot easier. So today, first I discussed informed choices on who you're voting for. Next, I explained the voter requirements and what makes you eligible. Last, I discussed what happens on voting day. In closing, I want to thank you again for listening to what makes you a citizen and what we have a civic liberty to do to make change. And again, I want to thank you again for coming.